This is the key. I'm going to go over the answers for CFA 5, so that way you can see how you did on your test. If you need to make corrections, you can make corrections to see what you did incorrectly, so you can write your corrections on a sheet of paper. So I'm going to go through the test here. There were 4 standards on it. EE4 was questions 4, 5, and 6. EE5 is the first 3 questions. EE6 is 7, 8, and 9. And EE7 is 10, 11, and 12. You have to get 2 out of the 3 correct on here. And on EE7, you have to make sure you get the one graphing correctly. So I'm just going to go through here so you can see how you did. Team A scores 5 runs more than Team B. So I've circled some hints. Team B scores Y runs. So if you're going to write an expression to represent the run scored by Team A and then defend why it's correct. So we know that Team B scores Y runs. Team A scores 5 more than that. So you're going to say Y plus 5 runs. You're adding because more means to add. So you're adding the 5 runs to Y, which is what Team B scored. The next example, they're asking the total number of miles that she bikes each day, and she did 3 miles and then X and then Y, so total you would just add all those together. You're not going to be multiplying or anything, you're just adding those together for total. This example here, $49.99 per month, and then you're adding because it says plus 25 cents for each message. Each is a keyword that you're multiplying. Each message is going to be worth X instead of telling you how many messages they send. So instead of 25 cents times however many messages, it's just 25 cents times X. That's going to be your text messages. You still have to add your $49.99 per month. So this would be like an expression. You have this plus this amount. This is times. There's more than one way to write times. You can put 0.25 times X right next to each other as a way to write that. You don't necessarily have to have an equal sign because it's just an expression, but that's what your expression should be. Which choice shows the correct answers for X is less than 2? A, all of them are less than 2. B, none of those numbers are less than 2. C and D, I circled the only ones that are less than 2 on C and D. So the only one that all of those are true would be A. All of those numbers are less than 2. Substitute that given value to figure out which one's going to make this true. Q is supposed to equal 56. So when you put 7 plus 56 over here, that's not going to equal 60. So the first one's not true. When you put 56 for Q on the left side, it's not going to be greater than or equal to 8 plus 50 on the right side. The only one that's true is C. When you take 1/8 and then next to Q means times 56, you get 7. So that's the one that's true. Which is an answer to the solution y to the third power plus 12 is 137. 5 works. 5 to the third power is 125. When you add 12, you get 137. You're going to use this formula to change the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So they're wanting to know what's the Fahrenheit temperature if Celsius is 100 degrees. So you put 100 degrees in here for Celsius. You have to divide it by 5 and then add 32. When I take 100 and divide by 5, that's 20. And when I add 32, that would give me 52 for my degrees Fahrenheit. So 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Which makes this true. When we're solving for X, we do the opposite. So you add 16 to each side. This side cancels, you get X by itself, and this is going to be 48. And 48, if you check this, minus 16 would be 32. You're supposed to write an equation. You have to use K equation. Remember, equation, you have to have an equal sign. And so you're trying to figure out the average number of minutes it took them to run each mile. So there's the amount of minutes. If you divide by the miles, you would get K, which would be the minutes per mile. You could also take 3 times K to equal that. So both of these equations, this is one equation, and you're dividing to figure out the average time. Or you could multiply 3 times the minutes that it took you to run each mile to get your total. So either way, to solve for K, you would take 28.5 and divide by 3. And so your K would be 9.5 minutes per mile. Either one of those equations works something similar to that. You have to have an equal sign. You have to have K because it says to use K as your variable in your equation. And an equation has to have an equal sign. The last 3 are inequalities, so the word inequality means you have to use the less than or greater than sign. If you write the variable first, X, it has to be under 50, so you use the less than 50 for your inequality. This one's graphing the inequality. Your X is less than 5, so it's an open circle on the 5, and you're pointing to the less than. You're going this way. It's not shaded in or anything, it's just open. And the last one, same sign, 5 times what would give you a number greater than or equal to 35? Well, if you wanted to equal 35, it would equal 7. 5 times 7 equals 35. If you give me a number greater than 7, like 10, 5 times 10 is 50, which would make the left side greater than the right side. So those are your corrections for CFA 5. You can use those to help you see how you did on your